Hey, this is Sam from Real-Time Automation, and today we're going to be going over how to set up your brand new Historian module to read data out of your PLC and store it as records for you to reference later. We're going to be starting off today already on the Historian's webpage and in configuration mode, as can be seen in the top right here. I'm also already logged into the default admin account. So there's three things we'll need to configure to get data moving. Number one is the PLC connection. Then we'll need to set up a record definition to define what data is actually going to be stored. Then we need to set up a record handler to define how we're going to handle storing that data. The first thing we're going to do is go to the Allen-Bradley PLC's page to set up our PLC connection. There's two ways we can add a PLC. The first is clicking Add New to configure it manually, or we can click Add New from Discovery to discover PLCs on our network automatically. When I clicked Add New from Discovery, you can see I found the PLC on my network right here. I'm going to select that and hit Add PLC, and it automatically sets everything up for me. It's already got the connection parameters for IP address, it gave it a proper label, and set up the connection timeouts for me automatically. What I'm going to do then is we have to add a tag. So we can either add a tag manually, or if you're on a Compact Logix, Control Logix, or Flex Logix PLC, we can actually browse the PLC for tags, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to add tag from browse, and we can see the list of tags that are available in my PLC. I will just select a couple I want to use for this demo today. A real data type called float, and an int data type called int. We're going to hit add tags. You can see those appear in the tag table down here. Next, we're going to go to the record definitions page to define what this record's going to look like. We're going to hit Add New. And then we have a few configurations up top. There's a resource name, which is just a label in case you have more than one. A timestamp format, which I'm going to change to date time milliseconds, as well as a timestamp name and sequence name, which are not used when storing data locally. I'm going to click Add Fields to add data points to this record. I click that and you can see we have the float and int tag that I've just configured showing up right here. I'm going to select both of those and click OK, and they've been added to the data point fields table. The next thing we need to do is set up the record handler. So we're going to go to the record handling page, hit Add New, and then there's a few things we want to note on this page. There's two ways we can store a record from the data we're reading from the PLC. One is based off of a trigger from your PLC, which is what this trigger data point would be. I could target one of the data points I configured, and whenever that data point changes value, I would store the record. Or I can do cyclic sampling with this enable sampling checkbox and the sampling rate. These can be used together, but today I'm just going to use the cyclic sampling, which I'm actually going to increase the sampling rate to 1000 milliseconds, so I'm pulling my values once a second. There's also several modes to note here. There's local storage, which just stores data locally, forward and local storage, which would both store locally and forward to MQTT, or forward, which only forwards to MQTT. I'm just going to stick with local storage today. And then the last thing we need to do is actually add that record to this record handler. So we'll hit Add Record and use this drop down to select the record that we just configured. And then that record is associated with the record handler we just created. One more thing we can do is go to the local storage tab. There's a few settings in here for how we actually handle the data. So after records is the max number of records we can store at one time. By default, this is 10,000. The age off interval is how often will we age off records, which is essentially deleting the oldest records. Remove records is how many records do we delete at once whenever we get rid of them. And age off method is which records are we going to get rid of. It's going to be the oldest records or the newest records. That's everything we need to set up in order to get this working on a basic level. So I'm going to hit Save All Changes in the bottom left and choose Save Application. Then we can see all the changes I just made here. We can see that I created those two data types, added the PLC, as well as set up the record handler and record definition. So I'm going to hit OK. Those changes are saved, and then I'm going to hit Start in the top left. All right, now that that's started, I can go to the home page. And we can see that my Allen-Bradley PLC status is connected. My read requests and read responses are going up. So if I want to get the files out of the historian to actually look at and analyze, I can go to record definition. I can go to record handling, and then the local storage tab. There's a download button here. We can click that. It gives me three file types. I can download a database, a CSV file, or a PDF. I'm going to choose a CSV to download. And that should download in the top right hand corner. There's also a USB download we can do. So if you just plug in a USB drive to the historian unit with one of the available USB ports and wait 5 seconds, it should download the file automatically. Then you can just pull out the USB, plug it into any computer, and get the file there. There's also a clear button here that will completely clear all the records out so you can start from a blank slate. If we open that file, this is what it would look like. So we have a sequence number on the left, we have the timestamp, the name of the tag, whether or not the data is valid, the actual value itself, how many values are stored in that single record, and what is the data type of that record. That's all there is to setting up your historian to get data out of your PLC so you can analyze it. Alright, that's all we have for today's video. If you have any additional questions about our products or require some extra support in getting them installed up and running, feel free to give us a call at 1-800-249-1612 or email us at support@rtautomation.com. This has been Sam from Real-Time Automation. Let's get your data moving.